Welcome to the Truman Charities podcast, a community of caring. I am Jamie Truman, your host. I'm one of the co-founders of Truman Charities. Our organization has raised over $1 million for several different charities as we share our message of helping others and paying it forward. We plan to continue to educate our audience on the culture of giving. On this podcast, I will interview fellow charity founders, volunteers, sponsors, and other people in the community who will share their stories. You will hear and be inspired by their selflessness and passion for helping others. Welcome to another episode of A Community of Caring. Don't forget to rate and review this podcast for your chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card and my favorite gratitude journal. Please screenshot your review before you hit submit and send it to me via Facebook at Truman Charities or Instagram at Jamie_Truman Charities. Now, I'm very excited to introduce you to my guest today. He is the owner of Accessible Beltway Clinics, which is comprised of 17 integrative clinics in Maryland and DC, and the founder of Overdose Free America, Dr. John Rosa. Hello, Dr. Rosa. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. How about yourself?
Great. I'm so excited for our listeners to learn about all the great work that you're doing for the community. So I wanted to start out by having all the listeners learn a little bit about your background. So can you tell us why you're so passionate about educating the community about the opioid crisis and mental health in general?
Yeah, sure. Well, first, I'm going to start off by saying thank you for what you do, because your messaging is absolutely spot on. I've listened to several of them, and I would advise listeners of my own and yours to go back into that Rolodex of podcasts to listen, because you do a great job and it's needed messaging. So just a thank you from me to you to start.
I love that. Thank you. That's so sweet.
Very welcome. But I mean, my history is that I'm in integrative health for 20 something years. And I know you're probably saying, wow, what did you start when you were 12? Because I look that good. No, I'm only kidding. But yeah, a long time. 28 years is a long time. And I actually started when I was at Rutgers University in having to take in biology a degree, a research class for that credit you had to take, which that's the last thing anyone really wants. And I got put into a neuroscience lab, and I didn't stop since then. Just kind of trying to understand the mind and the brain, neuromodulation, a lot of things that happen and why they happen. So that scientific background started way back when. And I got into integrative practice because of being injured playing sports and being told I can't do that sport anymore, and seeing an integrative practitioner and being back doing what I wanted to do in 2 weeks. So kind of that rubber band spins and makes you want to go and fulfill that.
My gosh. So, impressive.
Yeah. I mean, for 20 something years, I got to see the window of the difference between treating people through symptoms as opposed to prescribing them through symptoms. And as the opioid crisis reared its ugly head, and when you're in that world, you start seeing a change in your patient base of people still coming in to get treatment, but there's this fog of medication that's kind of overlapping, and patients that I was treating for a bit ended up falling into a bad space. And then family members I even knew that would consult with me with certain issues are now consulting saying, well, it got so bad, I started taking this medication, I can't get off of it. So there's all this like writing that's on the wall that kind of made me dive in a little stronger, and I couldn't understand where it was really coming from. So I took the bull by the horn, started talking about the problem, went to work within a medical doctor's, a primary care doctor setting who sees over 100 visits a day. And we had the conversation. I went in there for a free clinic. So I took a room. I managed the clinic. So I see patients here and there. I had the opportunity to manage them from a computer anywhere. So I literally sat in that room, and he walked all his pain patients over to me instead of prescribing, and he dropped his prescribing of opioid medications by 70%.
Oh my gosh.
And, yeah, I mean, 10% you write a paper, 70% you call the White House. So right. Jokingly, I said that when he told me when we reviewed the numbers, but then I was lecturing, and because I started lecturing all over the country on the topic, and somebody was there that had some ties to the administration. And then I got asked to present at the Opioid Summit, and then 5 people came up to me afterwards and said, you're a surrogate to this team because no one's talking like you. So that's kind of been the cascade of events that took me down the path. And now I'm consulting for, Homeland Security, FDA, DEA, FBI, all of them when they put together, whether it's opioid or fentanyl summit, then I get the call to set up the prevention portion of the medical side. And prevention is important because you're talking about upstream modality, right? So we can't just talk about Narcan, for example. Like, Narcan is a beautiful thing because if somebody overdoses, it saves their life. But if that's all we say is prevention and all you're worried about is preventing death, you're telling me it's okay to get them as addicted as possible so long as we have enough of the Narcan available to give to them. I can't live in that space. So I go so far up. In fact, and I was at a talk at the White House in the West Wing. It was a prevention summit, and there was table, and it's like 3 people from the end. I was sitting. I knew, I'm looking at my watch, I'm not going to get a chance to talk. So I stood up to say it, and because my time is too valuable, I'm like, I'm going to go, because everybody spoke about Narcan, and it got me upset. So I think it was Kellyanne was at the time. She's like, well, you got to go. Do you know where the restroom is? I'm like, I don't have to go. I got to go because you're not going to get to me, and we're not talking about real prevention, so it doesn't interest me. I'm sorry. She said, Dr. Rosa, you have the floor for the rest of the meeting. So I literally told one story. I said, I go fishing every Sunday with my 2 best friends, an emergency room doctor and a primary care physician, and me. We go to the same hole right at the waterfall's edge every time. And there's bodies flailing all over the place, and we're panicked, like, what's happening? The ER doctor runs to the edge of the fall because that's what they do. They prevent you from falling over. The primary care is building a raft so he can get as many onto the raft so you don't near the edge. That's what they do. And then they scream at me and say, John, where the hell are you going? And I'm like swimming like a mad dog upstream. I'm saying, well, either they're jumping in or someone's pushing them. I'll figure it out. You guys take care of what you know. So, and I said, if we don't talk about that side of this, there's no use for me to participate. So it really is that, in my brain, that simple. You can't avoid the upside. So that was a very long-winded answer to your question, because if you can't tell that I'm a little bit passionate about what I do, it bothers me so that we don't look at the real reasons of what it is.
To prevent, preventative. Now, you are a world-renowned speaker on this topic, obviously. And I was interested to know, is there a specific segment of your speech that tends to impact your audience the most?
Yeah, I vary from, I've done an hour and up to 12 hours on the topic. And all of them have the same beginning, which is a statistical fire hose. And it's really the most impactful. And it should be, because I want to punch everyone in the face with statistics so that they get as mad as I do, so that then the rest of my talk is really something they're passionately going to listen to. And when I say statistics, it's not this. So 80% of heroin users started with a prescription medication.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Okay, so that means the majority, right, in any math class I ever took, 80%, the majority, started with a little white piece of paper that had something written on it. Now, that could be diverted from grandma's medicine cabinet because the cleaning crew or their grandchild knew it was there, took it out, and they were saving it because they had it after a surgery and it was so strong. Why throw it out? You might fall off the roof one day, right? So people just keep it like it's this safe thing. So some of it is a diversion thing, but the prescription still had to be written. So somewhere in that statistic is this odd thing about what we needed it for: crush injuries, major surgeries, cancer patients, very acute pain syndromes, passing a kidney stone. If I go to the hospital and I'm passing a stone and you don't give me morphine, I'm Sicilian and it's in my blood, I'll hurt somebody there. I'm only kidding. But I'm saying the truth is, when it's that, you're supposed to use it for, not the sprained ankle, a tooth that gets pulled, a shoulder that's strained, I pick something up heavy, my back hurts. They were getting written out like candy from there. So that's statistics one, right? Here's the other ones in a single day. 500,000 prescriptions are written for opioids every single day. Today, it happened. Tomorrow, it's going to happen. 3,300 people go to the emergency room with an overdose related or reaction to an opioid. 2,000 of them are actual overdoses that didn't die. 200 people died today and tomorrow and the next day.
That is
96 children are born addicted to opioids a day. The number one reason, the number one cause of death, if you are 50 years old or younger, is an opioid overdose, even during COVID.
I can't believe nobody talks about these numbers. It really is shocking to me.
It's embarrassingly shocking. Like, this is the reason I am incessantly talking everywhere. I can't, I got more lecture. I got a lecture this coming weekend in Des Moines. Like, where is Des Moines? I don't even know if I've ever been there. I have no idea what's happening. The following weekend in Connecticut, in Mississippi in October. I mean, it's just, if they ask, I go, because every time I'm there, and the question that you raise is a good one. Say, what gets your audience? Like, what gets them? What do you say? That's that. I just told you, right? If I start my lecture with that, the number one cause of death, if you're 50 or younger, and everybody's like, how's that even possible? Well, because after 50, it's heart disease, heart attack, stroke, cancer, COVID. They're all like 80 years old. So, we don't fall into the basket. I'm talking about 50 or younger, the number one cause of death. So if that doesn't get everybody, and it's 0 degrees of separation, there's no one who doesn't know someone who's either dependent, addicted, or past. And I'm sorry, I'm not yelling at you, by the way. I really do like you.
No,
I just yell in general.
It's very, very true. And I want to talk a little bit about how you prevent people from using opioids. So I know you work with a lot of professional athletes and Olympians to help them alleviate pain. Now, what types of alternative pain management do you offer to avoid?
Yeah, so our clinics are truly integrated. So we have medicine, we have chiropractic, we have physical therapy, acupuncture, some behavioral medicine for the mental health part, which is a massive overlay, I'm sure we'll discuss, and even a massage therapist and a few of the clinics. So there's all these things that we do, and procedures, right? So procedures meaning whether you need an epidural or facet injection, PRP, we're even starting to do some stem cells. So there's things that are in that package of interdisciplinary group of people that, like I said earlier, treat through problems instead of just prescribing through them. So a perfect example, you say we treat professional athletes. So we work with the Wizards, right? Professional team. Somebody gets hurt. They get treated 3 times a day, not 3 times a week, or have to go to PT today and then one more time next week. They're getting treated 3 times a day. They're videotaped because we know exactly what their ranges of motion, movement patterns, how they work before they get hurt because it's on file. We watch everything they do, and they're not allowed to practice until we say they're not allowed to play until all of the docs in line. There's the medical doctor, the chiropractor, the trainer, and the physical therapist. They all have to say that the athlete is at pre-injury status. That means he's just as good as he was before he got hurt. And granted, there was minimal to no medications involved. Same injury, same age, same sport playing, but on the corner, with the pickup game with the boys. Doctor, go home and rest. Here's your medicine. Take this. Don't always take it every so many hours, because if you don't, you're going to have the breakaway pain. It'll come back. So what happened between the two? So the question becomes like, so what do? We do everything. You're going to come and get evaluated. Is the pain that much that you need to get some sort of an anti-inflammatory, maybe a muscle relaxer, not an opioid, for God's sake? Start treatments. Is the chiropractor the right one to do it? Are you going to have manipulation of the joints and some physical therapy? Did you injure it bad enough where your weakness is there? So the physical therapist jumps in and does active rehab exercises. Maybe you've had this chronic thing for so long that there's a meridian problem where your brain is sensing symptoms that are just caught up. Acupuncture goes in and changes that balance. Boom, the symptoms go away. So it really depends on who it is, what it is, but they're treatable. Most conditions that are pain related are treatable. They just go down the wrong path.
Wow. I mean, why do you believe the main reason that some individuals have hesitation with integrative medicine?
Well, there's 2 hesitations, right? So one is, who's paying for this? Now, if that's the hesitation, because healthcare is driven through the hospital, the urgent care, the primary care doctor. 98% of all medical visits go through those systems. and they're covered all the time if you have health coverage. And even if you don't, you're through the Medicaid system, Medicare system, it doesn't matter, it's covered. Now, if they were to make that referral out for treatment, as opposed to writing a prescription that's $5 to send them home with, does the insurance company cover it? Some do. But if they do, there might be a deductible. If they do, maybe there's a $50 copay, and the therapy is 3 times a week for about 4 or 5, maybe 6 weeks. So you have to be independently wealthy or have enough on the side to say, well, I'll drop $400 or $500 out of my own pocket in the next 2 weeks. And that then takes a group of people in society that just says, well, you can't afford our care. I mean, that's terrible. But that's usually the barrier. The other is the system itself. So they're not used to sending for integrative modalities, like until recently. Now it's in the statutes, whether it's through the Joint Commission that regulates hospitals, the American College of Physicians, which gives recommendations to medical practices, the AMA. So you're starting to see them require that you do send for physical therapy, chiropractic, acupuncture, and mindfulness. Those 4 things are now written in what used to be recommended. Now they actually changed the rules in the past year and a half to say it's mandatory. You cannot go writing a script for non-high acute type injury unless you've offered those things to the patient. So I see it starting to turn a little bit. So even though they made those recommendations, we still don't see the C-turn that should take place by people getting the proper treatment as opposed to the wrong medication.
Right. It's a positive to see a little bit of that turn happening. And myself included, I've noticed that with our insurance, it is becoming easier and the deductible has been less for chiropractic care. So
yeah, it's a good example.
I'd turn a little.
Yeah. And that profession in general is a great gatekeeper to that, because they're a physician. The only thing they do differently is they don't write prescriptions. So who's better at the opioid crisis than the people who can't even give you the damn script, right? But yet they can order X-ray, MRI, CAT scan, ultrasound, blood work, you name it. We're going to do a full evaluation of what that patient looks like. Once you figure out what it is, they can either say, look, if you're out of this holistic side of treatment, you need to see the MD, or you need rehab because you just got out of a cast and the muscles are wasted away. Go get exercise. Or we're going to control your pain and flexibility right here in this office the way we're set, or the other modalities that may be necessary. So you're right. Now you're starting to see better coverage there. It's now just them feeling like they can send it. Like there's an ego thing. Like, just other people can actually handle this, right?
No, I wanted to change the topic just a minute because I have to ask you about Overdose Free America. You are the founder of this. What is your mission? Tell us a little bit about it.
So there's a song that was written and Kara had it put together. It's funny, we were going to get it cut right before COVID in Nashville. And there's a PSA style movie intro. Like, when you go to the movie theater, you see the next upcoming great film. We're designing this 5 to 7 minute clip of a movie that never comes out. So it's really going to be in there as an intro of thing, but it'll be like this blockbuster, starring this one and starring that one. Now here's the kicker. The starring people in the film and the singers of the song that at the end have the chorus joining people in are going to be people who passed of an overdose. Now that sounds a little odd, right? But imagine you're watching this in Heath Ledger, or in the entertainment industry, you have like a We Are the World type stage. Do you know how many people passed of an overdose? And then the families have been contacted trying to make sure we have all this set where they can, because with technology, you could have them as if they were there, part of a song being sung. And it's about, like the title of the song, for example, is Last Time. So it's, interviewing some of these people who have addiction, and these kids are saying, well, yeah, it's like, that's it. You just sit there and say, this is it. It's the last time. I am not doing this ever again. And this is it, the last time. And then one of the kids, when we were interviewing, says, yeah, but in the back of your head, you always think, well, what if the last time is really the last time?
Wow. That's so moving. I love it.
Kind of powerful. So having songs like this background of having people Now, you want to talk about a viral influencer content thing, something like this. That's when, not if, but when it happens, it cannot not be shared a million times, because it's going to be like, oh my God, did you see this new song? And it's sung by, you have people in there like Michael Prince. I mean, we could sit here all night and probably name names of people who succumb to that, right? So anyway, those are the type of projects that we work on. I think they're home runs, huge, massive influence type stuff. And with the people we're working with, it won't be terribly expensive. It takes, you're talking about quality production. So it's going to be a big raise to get it done, but not as big as one would think, like you're producing a movie for $100 million, right? So it's exciting. It's very exciting. And I think it'll be probably one of the most impactful things that can happen to the epidemic.
Now, how can our listeners help Overdose Free America?
Yeah, there's a website, overdosefreeamerica.org, and just spelled out the words, Overdose Free America. And there it just has some of the stats and some of the people. The About Us page shows some of the people who are helping me along the way in the mission. And no paid employees, zero. That's kind of what it's always been personal mission to do. Like when we did the orphanage in Italy, when we raised our funds, we raised it because it's going straight to the kids, because there's nobody getting paid for that. So I try if it gets really too big, I'm probably going to have to sub out some of the stuff and the work and the things. There's some cost there. I just don't like the bloating part of what some of the places get to. And when it's needed, you don't argue it. But as long as I possibly can, I just want to keep it. Raise the funds, put it towards awareness. Raise the funds, put it towards awareness. That's what we're trying to do.
That's great. And education is key, obviously, for this. But you also are a board member of an organization called Same Here. Now, why did you decide to join that organization?
Yeah, it was a buddy of mine that had done some work, and they're heavy into the sports world. So a lot of professional athletes, Olympians, gold medal winners, rings on fingers from Stanley Cup and World Series, you name it. And they're all kind of part of this group. And Same Here was this, it's like the Me Too movement, but in a way where not Me Too, it was actually tried to look at, my God, that makes so much sense. People can say, hey, come out and say, well, that happened to me too. And Same Here, it came out, and there was actually somebody in a deaf person in the family, and it was trying to explain and said, I'm trying to say, it's like, if somebody has mental illness and when you're talking to them, the reaction should be same here. The movement was this hand signal of, yeah, same here. And that's where the logo came from. That's where the movement came from. And now it's a global mental health movement of saying, it's not just you. Like, this happens across the board, and getting ahead of it and not putting this, I hate the word stigma, because stigma in and of itself becomes stigmatizing because it makes everything look so dirty and ugly. It's actually a natural course of problems that we see at a neurobiological chemical way that no one is immune to, right? So I just got so enamored by what they were doing in their messaging, a lot of stuff, and bringing to like schools and like auditoriums, and having these major athletes get up and tell their story about why they were just shot blank, crazy, feeling off, suicidal, you name it. And then kids in the audience saying, well, if they can say something, then why not I saying something? And again, it's that awareness. So I really liked what they were. And obviously the opioid crisis overlaps in mental health to an incredible degree. In fact, it's 100%. Either part of it is the reason you have addiction, or if you become dependent or addicted, you end up in a mental health state because you hate where you are. So it just fulfilled another mission for me. And I think nowadays, with what's going on, if we don't have that dual look at the clinical side of what happens when you overprescribe medications, and then the mental health state that the world is in, the country for sure, but the world, and how they collide, then I was missing the boat. So I just fell in love with the people and the organization.
Now, can you tell me a little bit about their hashtag Same Here scale?
Yeah, there's a scale. So they have a couple of applications that they're working on. They have the Scale app, and then they have a STAR app, which is like a exercise mental health, like a gym for the brain where you can go. It's being developed right now. But the STAR app is really cool. It's a sliding scale. Most of the time you ask somebody, and this is for schools, right? So it could be for anywhere, but it's really going into the school districts on fire right now because they have to do these mental health check-ins. So the teachers have to go through a certain category of either questions or trying to figure, and when they spot it, is there social workers, psychologists, how are we getting them out? Is there a problem? So it becomes mandated in a way where you ask somebody, especially kids at a certain age, like, how you doing? I'm fine. Like that doesn't give me a reflection of the mental state of that the parents have a blown out argument the night before and you didn't sleep because you were worried that something bad was going to happen. And now you're miserable today and you're sliding. You're not in a thriving feeling environment. And does it carry over because it happens for 3 weeks in a row every night? Or was it an offset and actually a dip down, but the rest of the time you're actually in a better space? So having a scale that's actually an app that has that same here logoed hand is actually the hand that's on the scale, and there's no middle. So you're on the side of the scale of not doing so well, not thriving, or that you're pretty much okay, or you're really thriving, like there's some greatness there. But you have to choose somewhere on this continuum, right? And we're all in a continuum every day. I mean, I got days where I'm dipping off the side of the other the thing. Like when I get done with patients or something crazy happens, or I have to go to Orlando to do a talk 3 weeks ago and 1 hour and 40-minute direct flight turned into 13 hours, I was off that scale. So we all have it. What I mean is there's a continuum, right? We're never in the one place. So tracking that in an app that then mirrors in from the teachers being able to see what those students say on a daily basis, that the parents get an ability to peer in and look at what that scale is looking like. Because sometimes we don't even know. Like, how many times have you heard, like, my daughter or my son did what? Like, they went to you and said that they felt like, what? Like, not my child. So having this place to see this, where their headspace is, it's a pretty neat way of tracking for them. And the app can actually alert them where these data points are fluctuating on or off. So I think it was pretty ingenious. It's getting into a bunch of schools. The NFL Players Association gave a grant to get even into more places because they just love the concept. So yeah, kind of exciting.
It's definitely needed. I absolutely love this program that they're coming up with. Now, do you believe the pandemic has increased the need for programs such as Same Here Scale?
Well, unless you can just bear it all and have a big tattooed S on your chest, then no, it's fine. Everybody's fine. We're all so shot. Like, you have presidential elections that have pinned people. You're in my camp or you're not. You have strife in the streets that you can't get away from for months on end. You have what happened at the Capitol building. You have a virus you can't see, and it scares the daylights out of you and your parents. Children see their mother cough 5-10 times because she's got a scratchy throat from allergies, but that's the signal of death. They go into a complete funk. So then you got the West Coast on fire, the Gulf Coast is underwater, and now Afghanistan we pull out of, and there's soldiers dying. Like, there was something on the news the other day about, we know there's UFOs. I'm like, what are you doing? You're going to do that right now? You're going to give me that, right? Okay, thank you. That was the only thing I needed to put me over the edge. So what are we saying, right? So we've had a good year and a half, almost 2 solid, of angst and mild depression. That it's not one in 5 is every book you see, every article you read. 1 in 5 people have depression. 1 in 5 people have 1 in 5 have. I call baloney. It's 5 in 5. It's 5 in 5. I don't care. And look, and we're talking about that scale, right? So on a continuum between you and me, we know that we would have been somewhere in there and not such a great place in the last 2 years. You can't tell me that's not true. So it's so needed right now. And this overlaps with the opioid crisis too, because It's the people who are completely run down and vulnerable and don't like where things are and get exposed to something like that lights up a dopamine response and says, well, hey, your pain might be gone. And guess what? Things don't look so bad right now. So this is good. Take another pill, right? I mean, it's not okay.
Now, I love seeing here, and I know all the listeners do too. So how can they help? How can they donate?
Yeah, it's Same Here Global movement. And if you just put Same Here Global and you type away, the website will show up. And their website also has a donation page on there. They have great tools for schools, for corporate stuff, for inviting them in to do talks. They go to colleges. They've been to major universities. They tag along and grab. If it's in New York, you have Darryl Strawberry, who used to play for the Mets and won the World Series, or there's somebody from the current hockey players, and the Theo Fleury used to play for the Rangers. He's there. Like, it's just the names of the people involved are massive. So it's a great organization to not just to go and say, I want to make a donation. That's really cool. But you could do a step better and make someone else make a donation. Like, have a college or a high school invite them in to do a talk with a thought leader or an influencer that comes into their gym and talks about how when they were students sitting in that seat, this is what they used to think. These are the bad stuff that used to happen. Here's the good things that used to take place. Normalize the conversation to get people to go. And that costs some money to bring them in. So that helps the organization move forward as well. So there's other ways to help instead of just the donation. It's really, again, like what I'm doing, right? Is it about the money, or is it about the message? The money usually you need the money to get the message out, but it's so much more important to say, here's a $100 donation. Here's a $10,000 donation. I lost my son to suicide. I just sold my company for $2 billion. Here is $1 million donation. Well, that person may know 10 schools that they're connected to that you could put them in. That is that next step, that bridge. So the thought process is always not only how do we help financially, but how do we help? What do we, us right now? People are seeing this and hearing it. What are you going to do? You're going to show up, or did you listen and say, wow, that's crazy stuff they were talking about? You know, it's not entertainment. This is show up. Just show up. Just show up. Or if you can't show up, we'll show up. Tell me where to go. I'll show up.
Now, since educating the public on the opioid crisis and mental health issues, what have you learned that has surprised you?
Yeah, I think when you have to be buried in this and you're looking societally and saying, like, oh my goodness, like right now I'm going back to Rutgers when I had to do my science class, right? I had to do my research project. This was like on neuromodulation and the vagus nerve and tone. I've carried that through to now. And what makes the further I go deep into this and I look at the real issues of societally, we have so much dampening of all our neurochemicals because of stress-related things that we shouldn't be having to pay too much attention to, but we don't have a choice. So what I mean by that, there's dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins that we have, right? So those things do keep our species alive. So my job is to hunt for my tribe. I know I'm going to go hunting, dopamine. It's a reward system. I go out get my spear and I'm heading out, dopamine. I see a bison, dopamine. I get closer, dopamine. Take off like a bat out of hell, no shoes on my feet. Endorphins are released because when endorphins are natural opiates, you don't feel anything. I get the thing, kill it. I know I'm going to bring it back because now I'm going to feed my tribe for the next 3 months. Serotonin's released because now I feel I did something important for the people that I'm supporting and love. I bring it back, and one of the women in the tribe strokes my shoulder and says, thank you so much. You saved us. And oxytocin's released. They're in the tent. 9 months later, your tribe just grew. So if we don't have those, we don't exist. We can't, our species would have been dead a very long time ago. Like, those have to happen. So what dampens all those from being made? Cortisol, right? So let's just get stressed out. So let's just push all those decent hormones down to a point where the sympathetic nervous system takes over and we're in a flight or fright response all the time. Now, flight or fright is a good thing when you're chased by a lion and he's going to chew your rear end off. Like, I got to get out of here. But it's designed to get out of here, and then it's going to shut off. But instead, we're running from that tiger or that lion every single day in a tiny bit because it's kind of far away. You're still scared, but we're doing it every day. Your neurochemistry is not made to do that. So it's got everybody into this state of like not so good. Hypersensitivity to pain. So when you get something prescribed, you have to get the prescription because you're inflamed already. Like you're so irritated. Then the mental health issues, like you're already at a it's like the pilot light on like the stove has to have a light. The pilot light's on. That's your sympathetic nervous system. You have to have it on the ready. It has to be there. That's called our immune system too, by the way. That pilot's on and looking around saying, any bad stuff coming my way, I'm going to kill it. But then we don't sleep that much. Turn it up. And now it's a flame. We're stressed out to no business between work, financial issues, relationships. Boom, let's turn it up a little bit. We went from fruit, vegetables, grains, and protein food, the animal protein food from the tribe I just described, to 7 bags of potato chip and a gallon of ice cream because it's comfort food during these crazy times. Crank that thing up even higher. So when that flame is burning at that level, mental health is so susceptible to getting so bad. Your ability to recover from any injury or have more pain than if you weren't in that state is higher because you're inflamed already systemically. You twist your ankle in that position, it blows up this big and hurts for a month. When you're okay in every other aspect, you twist the same ankle, it blows up, and in 3 days it's gone. There's a reason behind it. So, again, I'm so sorry that my answers are always never like, I can't just give you an answer, but I want you to kind of see what makes me the craziest. The more I learn, the more I know, like societally, we just have to be there. We have to be tribal again. We have to see each other. You have to hold somebody. You have to have compassion. You have to care for somebody. You have to care, number one, for yourself first, because if those things are there and exposed, number one is you. Like, you got to take care of you, and then don't forget about the rest of the people around you.
No, I could listen to you for hours. That is amazing what I've learned in the past, I think like 30 or 40 minutes. I can't even like grasp all this information. It's blowing my mind here. And, and it really did kind of touch me in like a personal way because, my father and my cousin both overdosed, and it started with prescriptions and it just went from there. So I think your work that you're doing is needed and it is incredible. And I just thank you so much for everything that you're doing. I have no idea how you do all this because there's only 24 hours in a day. So I'm really not sure how you're doing it. Thank goodness you started Overdose Free America so you can educate in a broader way because, again, you're so busy.
Yeah.
You're so busy. So before I let you go, I want our listeners to be able to follow you. Can you let them know your personal website so they can find all the amazing work that you're doing and they can also find one of your clinics?
Yeah, I mean, it's drjohnrosa.com. It can't get easier than that. No period and not spelled out doctor. So DRJOHNROSA, drjohnrosa.com. And there it has where I speak. You can schedule me to be somewhere and talk. And it's not, I talk to a lot of medical, like whether it's, medical school, chiropractic college, physical therapy facility. I do a lot of that continuing education stuff, but I'll also go to a corporate place. And this type of stuff is important at a corporate setting. It's at schools and colleges and high schools, at churches. I mean, my list is very long of places that have just been invited to deliver the message. So, and you can find more about those topics. What I do has a link to the nonprofit work. It has some of the speeches that I may have given to teasers, so you can see what it looks like. And then all my social media pieces are down there if you'd like to click away and follow. I post a lot, like usually each week I'll try to take something in the news and to give my spin on it and talk about it, give tips here and there. So, yeah.
Perfect. And I want to remind the listeners here that the statistics that you gave earlier blew my mind are also on Overdose Free America's site. So make sure that you go on that, write those down, spread the word, and help Dr. Rosa as much as you can. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. Again, I know you are so busy.
No, but again, the thanks has to go both ways, because whatever this mission and vision you've taken on by getting to people that are trying to make a difference and change the world this isn't a task you do like you made this up one morning over coffee. You do it because you have a passion for it. And you and your family and people I know that know you're a blessing to society. So I just want you to know that I'm heartfelt to be invited to talk, but I need to thank you for doing what you do.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much. Yes, we just want this to be the vehicle I run into a lot of people and they're passionate about a certain topic, right? One, say mental health, and they're just not really sure how to give or where to give, or they want to volunteer, but they just don't know what organization is really going to speak to them. So this is kind of where we want to be the vehicle where they can just look down and they can find something that really becomes meaningful to them. And so then they can, go out, volunteer, help.
I'd say it all, because I can't be when I'm fighting a war, if I'm screaming and yelling and I look over my shoulder and there's nobody there, I run out of screams and yells.
There's only so much you can do.
Yeah, but if everybody's back there saying, a chunk will help you here, a chunk will help there, that you empowered. I could go all day if I look by my shoulder and see people like you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Thanks again, Dr. Rosa. And thank you to all the listeners for tuning in to another episode of A Community of Caring. And until next time. If you would like to learn more about our organization, please follow us on Facebook at Truman Charities or Instagram at Jamie_Truman Charities, or check out our website, trumancharities.com. I hope you enjoyed listening and hearing stories of selflessness and caring. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.